Slide up to the snack bar. Grab a beverage and maybe something to eat, and watch another movie with Rob and Zeke. Slide up to the snack bar. Nacho wants to wrestle and he's playing for keeps.
Did you not tell them that they were the Lord's cheaps?
Slide up to the snack bar. Season's greetings and welcome once again to Cinema Snack Bar. I'm Rob Alley.
And I'm Zeke Tucker.
And we're here to talk about the movies you love and the foods that help shape them. Today, we're taking a look at my first movie pick, Nacho Libre.
Nacho!
And we are snacking on the Lord's chips.
Oh, the best kind.
We're going to be making homemade tortilla chips today, which I'm so excited about. We'll take you through the recipe, and we're going to taste test deep fried chips versus baked chips in the second part of the show.
I mean, I have an idea of which one I'm going to like better.
Okay.
You know, just because, it's hard to deep fry something and not like it.
I have a prediction to make, and I don't know. I was going to save this, but I'll just go ahead and make it. I am expecting to be disappointed by the deep fried chips.
Really?
That's my expectation.
Mine was the opposite, and I come from a thing where I was like, let's bake everything and make it better, whatever. Right. But it's like adding butter to something. I feel like deep frying things can't make them too much worse.
I just feel like my experience with chips is largely restaurant based.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like there's some restaurant magic that we're not going to be able to replicate.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. I mean, I know it's mostly just chips and oil and the process, but I think there's going to be something that's off when we try to deep fry.
I hope so. I hope so.
I hope I'm wrong. Okay. I want delicious chips.
Yeah, correct.
I am like the priest at the beginning of the movie who's like, "Where's the flavor? Where are the spices? There's no flavor." So stick around for all that. First, let's dive into Nacho Libre. Released in 2006, starring Jack Black as Ignacio / Nacho,
yeah.
Ana de la Reguera as Sister Encarnacion, and Hector Jimenez as Esqueleto / you remember his real name?
Steven.
He called Steven. Good.
Steven.
Producer Whitney.
Steven, thank you, Producer Whitney.
Thank you.
It's not even listed on the actors on IMDb or anything like that. It's just Esqueleto.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, but what's his real name?
Yeah.
Technically, it's Steven.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That's how he says it.
Like Esteban. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Good job.
So, and I assume Esqueleto is Spanish for skeleton.
It's skeleton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that is the skinniest, maybe the skinniest person outside of Schindler's List, the skinniest person ever on film.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. He's like, purposefully skinny. Like, I wonder if they made him get a little skinnier. like they were like, hey, just don't eat for a few days before we do this, just because we want it to be Esqueleto.
Right.
We really want it to be that.
We want people to be worried for your health.
Yes.
You're gonna get a water IV on the side, like after every take. You're gonna be getting intravenous nourishment. The movie was filmed on location in Oaxaca, Mexico, written by Jared Hess, Jerusha Hess, writers of Napoleon Dynamite, and Mike White, who wrote School of Rock, who also wrote, see if you pick up a pattern here, Orange County. Remember Orange County?
I don't remember Orange
Jack
County.
Black and Colin Hanks.
Okay.
And by the way, the production company name on this is a black and white production.
Yeah.
Okay. He also wrote Pitch Perfect 3, and he wrote The White Lotus. He created The White Lotus, which is blowing up huge right now.
I have not seen it yet, and I'm excited to watch it.
But it's made Jennifer Coolidge into like a megastar.
It has. I've seen all of the memes that I see. My entire Explore page is her, Jennifer Coolidge. I was going to say Jennifer Hess. I'm looking at Jared Hess's name. Is Jennifer Coolidge, and her just being like, I'm awesome.
Yeah. I mean, she just won a Golden Globe for her role in The White Lotus. And she was on an Old Navy commercial. And let me tell you, they're not just signing nobodies,
Yeah. That's not Old Navy.
No, you don't. The Old Navy Christmas commercial spot is a highly coveted spot.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So yeah, Mike White created. You would never think the guy that made Nacho Libre is also the guy that made The White Lotus.
No.
But it's true. Mike White.
And I didn't realize Jared Hess also did Masterminds.
Yes.
I looked at it and I was like, okay, Masterminds, Napoleon Dynamite, and Nacho Libre. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. And I just didn't know. And then he created another movie called Gentlemen Broncos.
Yeah, Gentlemen Broncos.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but based on these 3 movies, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to like it. It's one of those, it feels cult classic, maybe without being one. It's just one of those movies. So I'm going to have to watch that next.
It also stars, what's his name from Napoleon Dynamite? The lead from Napoleon Dynamite.
John Heder.
John
There we
Heder.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you, producer.
Producer Whitney. Let me just say, I'm already so glad we gave you a microphone this week because, wow.
Coming through as our fact checker.
I am doubling your pay. According to IMDb, the film was partly inspired by Fray Tormenta, that is Friar Storm, a.k.a. Reverend Sergio Gutierrez Benitez. By the way, our Spanish pronunciation this week is just going to be...
I'm trying, y'all.
You're just going to have to forgive us. We're just whites. We will try our best.
We are.
But I feel like a fraud if I'm like, Reverend Sergio Gutierrez Benitez.
See, normally I feel that way, but I've started just be like, I have to do it in the accent that it's done. So I'm going to try.
Is it more polite to at least try with the real accent?
Please tell us. I don't know. I'm going to try to do it with the real accent. Rob, keep going with the white way, and we are going to see who is the most offensive.
Okay. And then we'll go the opposite way is the point we're trying to make.
Yes. Yeah.
So Reverend Sergio, let's go. Reverend Sergio. He was a Mexican priest who became a wrestler to raise money for his parish.
Right.
There's also a 1991 movie about it called, in Spanish, from Spanish, it translates to The Man in the Golden Mask, which is based on that story, which is kind of ironic because in this movie, the big bad guy wears a golden mask. The bad guy is the guy in the golden mask. Ramses. So yeah, that's great. The score to this movie was by Danny Elfman, which surprised me.
He's one of my favorites.
There aren't, to me, like the hallmarks of a Danny Elfman score.
No, there's not. I didn't know enough about it to like research who did the score for some reason, but he is my he's my favorite. He's the one who does.
Yeah, he does all the Tim Burton stuff,
yes.
like Batman, Beetlejuice, presumably Edward Scissorhands.
Yes,
all that stuff. And so there's certain things that I expect, but maybe it's in combination with Danny Elfman and Tim Burton. I expect a certain aesthetic.
Maybe
from
so.
Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Obviously, he can do other things, and this wouldn't have called for that sort of weird, soundtrack stuff. But the interesting thing about this soundtrack is, it's credited or was credited for a long time as just Danny Elfman. But the original plan for this movie was to have Beck do the soundtrack.
Oh.
And so it ends up with, there's a Beck song still on the soundtrack, and he did a lot of it, but then I think it was the studio came in and they didn't want it. They didn't think it was going to work. So they're like, no, we need to bring in like a legit score man. Let's get Danny Elfman. So he comes in and does that. They end up using, I think, about 3/4 of Danny Elfman's stuff, and then sprinkling in some other stuff. And obviously there's just some songs and stuff like that. But one of Beck's songs is still in there. I think it's called Holy Man. And Danny Elfman's score is in there, and the soundtrack has some of the other songs as well. So it's sort of like, it's mostly credited to Danny Elfman at this point, but really Beck kind of did the whole thing first, and then the studio rejected it.
That Religious Man song.
I love that
It
song.
sets the tone. And it just like when it started, I was like, oh, it had been years since I've seen this movie. And it started and I went, oh, I remember that song perfectly. Yeah. I am a real religious man. And I just went, man, it sets the tone for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. I love the music. It was really playful throughout the entire movie.
One of the great things I think about this movie is it truly, like, okay, Nacho's a funny character,
right?
And and he kind of gets off track, but his heart through the whole thing is right.
It is.
He is a real religious man.
He gets a little prideful there for a second. He was like, I want people to notice me.
Yeah. But like he has
a good heart.
He's doing this whole thing to feed orphans. You know, he's like, I'm gonna break the rules, but it's because I want the orphans to have some flavor.
Which is my kind of rules to break, Give them some flavor.
Yeah, give the orphans the flavor that they deserve. By the way, one of the funniest things in this movie is that they routinely refer to the group of kids as just orphans.
Orphans! Don't do that! It's awful.
You're not children.
No.
You're only identified as orphans.
Oh, man.
Even by the people who are caring for you.
Who love you and care for you.
Yeah,
yes.
You're just orphans.
Toxic parenthood kind of thing.
one of the big themes of this movie, or not, it's not a theme. It's just one of the big tent poles of this movie is lucha libre, and sort of pro wrestling, the idea of pro wrestling in general, which I'm a big fan of. I know,
hate it. I hate everything. That's what I was gonna say. I hate fighting movies. This is the exception, is because it is so funny. It's so funny and everything's lighthearted. But if people are brutally hitting each other in a movie, I won't watch it. I'm going to say something right now that will offend most people listening to this podcast. No. I've never seen Rocky.
Okay.
I hate movies like that. I will watch it. I absolutely will. And I'm sure I'll find the beauty in it. The movie I've maybe seen that I like the most, it's got minimal fighting, but it's still got fighting, is Far Away Home. Is that what it's called?
Far Away? Isn't that about like a dog and cat?
Okay.
What am I thinking of?
No.
Fly Away Home?
Well, okay. Our producer is looking this up. Why is that? I thought Far... Okay, it is Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. It's where they met, I think.
Oh.
It is a Irish. It is a really it's like one of those 3-hour movies that was like typical.
Far and Away.
Far and Away. Okay, Far Away Home.
Thank you,
whatever.
Whitney.
They find a new home. Far and Away. That is like he fights in that movie. I still 10 seconds forward every time that there's a fight scene. I'm like, okay, yes, brutality. We get it. You're a man. Okay. So I normally hate fighting movies. This is the exception because I was cheering. But cheering
wrestling
last
is
night.
Different.
Okay, I disagree, but I hate fighting and wrestling. But this movie is the exception.
Okay,
I was cheering.
I don't even consider this a fighting movie. There is fighting in it, but it's like, and so here's you get into the thing of like pro wrestling versus fighting too, right? Which is in real life, pro wrestling is, I don't want to offend any of my brethren here. So I'll say, we know that pro wrestling is predetermined.
Okay.
Yeah. And
this comes from one of the biggest wrestling fans I know. So you're not trying to talk it down.
No. Oh gosh. No, I love it.
Just
I still
give the
watch
facts.
It.
Yeah.
So, but pro wrestling is predetermined and people are playing characters, and it's
absolutely
most of the time it's not presented as genuine sport. It's not presented with the expectation that you're going to take it in as genuine sport.
Right.
Okay. In Nacho Libre, however, it is presented as genuine sport.
Is that what it is like with a lucha libre kind of thing?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
No. As a matter of fact, lucha libre in general is one of the most choreographed styles of wrestling. So it's very, very intricate. And the move sets that luchadors, so lucha libre is sort of characterized by guys who are really acrobatic. They do like high flying stuff off the ropes and flips and turns and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that has kind of made its way into American, particularly American independent wrestling, but even to some degree, American mainstream wrestling. But there's a show called Lucha Underground. And it's on Netflix. It was. I'm not 100% sure, but it is a literal blend. It's half pro wrestling, lucha libre style pro wrestling, and half like literal soap opera. Where it's like the whole show itself is a dramatized soap opera, but it's not a show about wrestling. It's a wrestling program, but everybody is a character and everything is scripted and they have these wild storylines.
I would probably like that.
But the wrestling itself is choreographed and obviously it's predetermined. As presented in Nacho Libre,
it is not.
The wrestling is real and everybody's, they're really getting hurt versus, in pro wrestling, people do get hurt, but your main goal as a pro wrestler, one of your main focuses is to protect your partner. So like if we're wrestling each other, I'm never actually trying to hurt you. Most of the time I'm trying to protect you.
You're trying to protect me in a showy
way that looks dangerous and looks like I'm trying to beat you to death.
Right.
But I'm never actually, most of the time I'm trying to keep you from hurting yourself. But so that's kind of the difference in actual lucha libre, you see a lot of the stuff that they end up doing in this movie because obviously the movie's choreographed.
Right.
But in real lucha libre, you would get that choreography as well. It's just presented here as though it's 100% real.
Yeah.
And back in the day, like we see Ramses walking around, and he's walking around in the mask. He's what they call living the gimmick,
yes,
right? Like he's walking around as his character. And back in the day, even in American pro wrestling, it used to be like that. So they used to tell guys before like cable TV and before kind of the curtain was pulled back on, pro wrestling, it was still presented for a long time as though these were the way these real people were.
Right.
Ric Flair was really riding around in jets and doing all this stuff to try and live the gimmick outside the thing to bring authenticity to his authenticity. Did I just say authenticity?
Authenticity.
Wow.
You did that thing that this will only reach a few people, but that's exactly what Dante Bowe does in one of his songs with Maverick City.
Oh, no.
It says authenticity, and then he fixes it. He's like going off the cuff, and he goes authenticity. And they kept it in there, and I was like, okay, yes. So
Good, leave it in there.
authenticity.
But yeah, they used to have people like if your character was a bad guy, they used to have you be a bad guy off screen.
Man.
So like if kids and stuff would come up for autographs, you were supposed to be like, "Puh." Like
Was Ramses supposed to be a bad guy in that world, or just like a really tough fighter? Because he pushed a priest. What is it?
Yeah.
Like maybe not a priest. What is
Friar.
A friar.
Friar,
Excuse
thank
me.
you.
I'm so sorry. He pushed a friar in front of orphans.
Yes.
So I didn't know if he was supposed to be playing that role.
I think it's not necessarily that he's a bad guy, but yes, that he's supposed to be great. Ramses, you know what I mean?
Right.
He's like the
So
pharaoh.
don't mess with him.
Yeah, like he's both revered and feared.
And that is Cesar Gonzalez.
Cesar
Gonzalez.
Caesar, I don't know. But here's my note on him. He's a well-known pro wrestler in real life. I used to watch him growing up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So when I was growing up, there were two major wrestling federations that were like national. There was WWF at the time, which is now WWE.
Yeah.
And there was WCW, World Championship Wrestling, that was based in Atlanta, that Ted Turner owned, and they used to show them on TBS. Back when TBS had start times of like 6:05, it would be like everything started 05, right? You remember that? Okay. So they would do, Saturday night WCW. At like 6:05, and I would watch it at my grandmother's house because she had cable. And that was my brand. That was the brand I grew up watching. And later, they started introducing luchadors and lucha-style wrestling into WCW. They were kind of the first American, mainstream company to start bringing that stuff in. And there was a character named Silver King, and that's Cesar Gonzalez is Silver King. He was one of the luchadors that I grew up watching. So
he died in a match later on, like maybe not a few years after this. I don't know the exact date, but he died of heart failure.
Snap.
Yes, in the middle, which is very sad. I watched that. I looked up the facts before I watched the movie, and I was like, oh, that guy passed away doing what he loved,
rough.
though. He was in the middle of a luchador match and passed away from heart failure. So I was like, they're really doing stuff. They're stunts. Yeah. But I mean, it is acrobatics.
Yeah. The amount of actually, they say being a pro wrestler is like learning to live through being in a car wreck every week. Oh. Like that's basically what it is. Even the first day that like people learn to be pro wrestlers or whatever, one of the first things that you have to do is learn to what they call take a bump, right? It's learn to like get on the mat, like jump and land on the mat, which is not as soft as you might think it is. It's a thin layer of like, kind of gym mat, material, if that thick. And then it's just plywood.
Oh gosh.
And staging,
So you just have to learn how to take that without injuring yourself too badly.
Yeah. And just getting used to the pain of doing that, 20 times a match, just the landing itself, forget anything else. And so there's an element of like, you have to learn to endure a lot to be able to do it. And then they say the toll that it takes on your body is basically the equivalent of being in a major car accident every week.
Wow. That sounds great.
One that doesn't hopefully break any bones or anything, but the impact, is about the same on your body.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That is awful.
And why people choose to do it, I don't know. It's for the glory.
It's for the glory.
I hope we don't offend anybody if we break into that sort of Nacho accent.
He did it the whole movie.
He did it the whole movie.
And he is not even 1% Hispanic. Is that true? Let's check it. Our producer is going to check that for us.
I believe Jack Black is Jewish.
Okay.
Like 100%.
So if we can if you've already watched this movie, then you hopefully are used to the Lord's chips and talk like this.
Yeah. And so one of my things to ask is, in retrospect, how problematic is Jack Black's portrayal of a Hispanic character being just 100% not Hispanic?
I think...
he's not at all.
Okay, he's got nothing. He's got no Hispanic in him whatsoever. It seemed so fitting for the movie.
Yeah.
Looking back, I go, I don't know that this could happen today.
Yeah.
He would have to be the white transplant that like his parents like left him there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, he would have had to have been an orphan.
And then the accent's fine.
Somehow.
Because you've grown up there.
Because you grew up there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
maybe so. That's the way to do it. You're right.
I think a little backstory would have been, it would have fixed it all. But I think now, 2023, may not have flown.
Yes. And we're going to get to our recast in just a few minutes, and we'll talk about, I'm interested to see if we both have him now recast with a white actor or a non-white actor.
I didn't even think about that.
We already established last week that you love a good non-white in a leading role. So
I do.
I'm interested to see.
I love some color as much as I can.
I'm interested to see what you do there. All right, let's talk a little design of the movie. Do you have any thoughts on the aesthetic, the design, anything like that?
I do. It is just so beautiful. I don't want to mention Wes Anderson every week, but it is Wes Anderson-esque.
Okay.
It's bubbly. Like it has a little bit of that. I could not explain it any other way than I continually watch 3 seasons of Breaking Bad and then I can't watch the show anymore. So that yellow film grain that they put over that. Yeah. It's like anytime you're in Mexico or it's a hot place, it's a little yellow.
Yeah.
They like just do this film kind of thing. And so it has a little bit of that. It has this like, it's just what you want the vibe to be in a Mexican setting. You just go, okay, this is great. This is what I would hope it would look like. Sure. So they really played into that. They really played into the colors in Napoleon Dynamite, in Masterminds. There's all these colorful moments and things that maybe it wouldn't be as old as it was in some of those arenas at the beginning of the movie when he's just starting out. I'm just like, that is tattered and old,
right.
Like all of the things around it. So they definitely for aesthetic. I feel like they made some choices for aesthetic, which I was about. But I loved the theming, the logo itself, I'd probably give an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I love it. I love the shadow, the red shadow. Yes.
Yeah.
The red shadow that comes off of Nacho Libre as it goes across. I noticed, I think at the end of the movie, it might've been one of the matches in the middle of the movie. It had the same kind of lettering in the background. It was on the wall and it had the red shadow. I absolutely love that. I use shadow all the time in any of my designs. The scene that really like sold it for me is before his match with Ramses. He gets he's singing in this bathhouse type thing with Esqueleto, and the tile in that room, it came on and I just went, oh, that is how I remember this movie. Yeah. It's one of those defining features of the movie. So it's got this like rose pink and throw up colored green tile. And I just went, that's what I imagine when I think of the luchador community for some reason is this tile. This has forever put this image in my mind because that's the one I remembered. It's been 8-10 years since I've watched this movie. And I went back and I was like, this is the scene I remember. And this is like Wes Anderson-y, like this scene. It just paints the picture. It's what I wanted to see. So I love the whole vibe of the movie. It's happy. It's like, there's no dark scenes. I'm pretty sure it's barely nighttime anywhere in this movie.
That's true.
And even if it is, it's like a light. There's a bunch of lights everywhere. It's funny. There's color. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like they nailed the aesthetic. It would have been hard to miss the aesthetic filming on location in Mexico,
Yes, so, with a bunch of luchadors. I mean, it's over the top and fantastic.
Yeah. But the way they sort of fleshed out the orphanage and all that stuff, I thought they did a good job. You're right. Everything feels kind of lived in and,
Yes, absolutely. It does. It's not new. It doesn't look like a new set. They did that successfully.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't look like a well-funded orphanage.
No, it doesn't. They really did good with that.
Serves the purpose of the story. Like everything is pretty bland inside the orphanage versus like you go to Ramsey's house for his, the party scene at Ramsey's house and everything is, has got the hoopla that you would expect from one of the stars. So yeah, I'm with you. I love it. And it does have that classic. So a lot of, it's got that classic, you're talking about the stuff in the arenas, that classic like pro wrestling poster, handmade kind of look.
Yes, hand painted. It all had, like it had it. Like I was looking for those like typographical points where I was like, oh, that is hand painted. And I'm sure the logo isn't hand painted. It's definitely definitely like a font, but it has that vibe in terms of it was painted on the wall in one of, I keep wanting to say battles. I'm making this more than it is. In one of the matches, it was painted on the wall, and I was like, that is the kind of stuff that I want to see.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the pro wrestling version of a fresco. You know, like
a fresco painting. Yes. Yeah,
like,
it really is. It really is. And the old poster type things, like, I don't know why I remember this because I don't know much. This is Nacho Libre is what I know about luchadors.
Yeah.
So I remember these like luchador type prints, like posters for events. I don't know where I was when I saw this, but I saw these like that. It's got beautiful typography all over it. It's got like screen printed looking it's got screen printed types of design.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. And I think that really portrayed well in this movie.
Absolutely. Let's see, a few of my favorite quotes from the movie.
Yeah, I have a few. Yeah, they're fantastic. It is a quotable movie.
Oh, very
like
quotable.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a quotable movie.
Very. And one of mine that I use this quote very, very often in my own life is, they don't think I know a buttload of crap about the gospel, but I do.
That is, I saw that. I think I saw that in someone's Instagram bio once, and I immediately followed them. I just went, man, that's it. That's the stuff.
First of all, the juxtaposition of a buttload of crap.
A buttload of crap about the gospel.
And then your next thing is the gospel. Like, it's such a like dangerous juxtaposition. Like, is that okay to say? Can you say those words
and that's
together?
why it's one of my favorites. Yeah, absolutely. My go-to is, how come we can't ever have just like a salad? That is my favorite. That's my absolute, I think that's my favorite one. And then, you know, when you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
Of course. Because
I've lived my life based on that one. I've, know, skinny jeans till I die.
Yeah.
And just that, I think I quote, how come we can't ever have just like a salad when I'm eating very terribly. And right. I'm just like, you should probably switch this up.
Like day 4 of Thanksgiving leftovers.
How come we can't ever just have like a salad? Oh, absolutely.
Oh gosh. Let's see. The wrestling. So in the movie, the wrestling is looked down upon because luchadors are false idols, according to Sister Encarnacion. They are receiving the kind of praise that should be reserved for God. And so, of course, in the orphanage / monastery or whatever, you know, that's going to be frowned upon. And so that's why Nacho has to go in secret when he gets this idea to be, you know, and you see the very beginning scene is little kid Nacho trying to be, you know, impersonating a luchador. And so, you know, this has always been in his heart.
Who is, okay.
So
I'm so sorry.
Are you talking about who plays him?
Yes. Troy.
Troy, I guess Gentile. He's in on the Goldbergs. And
Oh,
he
my
looks
word.
I think he looks
also
so
later
much like him.
He really
I'm so
does.
sorry. I cut you off. He looks so much.
You did.
He looks so much like him. And he also played young Jack Black again that year with Tenacious D. Is it in the Pick of Destiny?
The Pick of Destiny, yeah.
He played young Jack Black again that year.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah.
I watched some of the movie with the director's commentary here with my lovely SD 4x3 copy of the movie that I got at McKay's for 95 cents. Because apparently I didn't own this movie. Neither one of us owned this.
I didn't either. And I was like, oh, I for sure have that DVD. I still have my big case of DVDs. And we looked through it. And I was like, oh man, we're going to have to rent this movie tonight.
I think I must have owned it at some point and then maybe sold it to McKay's.
Probably. This might be your old copy.
Probably my old, back when I had a square TV. But like the director's commentary, so the commentary was Jared Hess, Mike White, and Jack Black, which is pretty solid. Like I find on commentary, you don't always get the full crew that you want.
Right.
But that's the writer, the director.
You get who they're allowing you to have at that point.
Yeah, you know, you'll be like, oh, the cinematographer, cool, you know, or whatever. But the commentary itself mostly was kind of like lackluster, surprisingly. Okay. But one of the things
I would think that would be just eventful. You put excited. Jack Black on something, it's going to be eventful.
Yeah, but it was like, okay, it was most of them going, oh, that was great. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that.
They were just
excited.
That was
cool. Yeah, but they did say that. What's his first name? Troy Gentile. Okay, which is hilarious for. You just assume that kid's Jewish. You take one look at that kid's hair and go, you're Jewish.
Yes.
If his last name is legit Gentile and he's
very funny.
And I hope he's super Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's hilarious.
Even better.
And I need to know family ancestry, how that happened, how you got the last name Gentile if you're Jewish. But they said that that's his real hair. For Jack Black, Nacho's hair is a wig through the movie.
Oh, I did not know that. I just assumed it was his hair.
Yeah, but for Troy, it was just all natural. That was his mop. So
he is Italian and Iranian.
Oh,
okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Wow.
That Jack Black does not look Italian or Iranian.
Wait, are you talking about Jack or Troy?
Troy.
Okay, Troy. Okay. All right. Wow, interesting. Okay.
Troy Gentile, the Iranian child actor.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay. There's a training montage in this movie that includes Esqueleto firing a cantaloupe at Nacho from a big slingshot, like a how do we explain this? Like a between two trees size slingshot. What's the biggest melon you think you could withstand without getting knocked down?
Much smaller than that. Like he hit him with that, and I was like, that is a lot of force. A lot of, I mean, it would have to be, however, you get the smaller melon, it's going to start to feel like a baseball hitting your chest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. So maybe that's where I go. Maybe it's watermelon size.
Yeah.
Maybe it's watermelon size and you're like, okay, there's enough pressure that is taken across the watermelon that maybe I won't die. But I guess you get smaller, it's going to go faster.
It's going to hurt more, I think. I think the bigger the melon, the greater the impact and maybe the push on your body. But yeah, the smaller it goes, you start flinging grapefruits, that's going to leave a welt. Welt or whelp?
Oh, we've had this conversation forever ago. It is a welt.
A welt.
Whelp is like whelp. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Welt is she's looking this up, but I know I'm right. It is welt. It is a welt on your body.
You mean you guys personally have had this conversation before?
Yes.
Okay, not you and me.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
But yeah, I definitely have. I've always wondered. I don't know. I think I say a whelp because a welt to me sounds like a thing that Southerners say that is wrong. That it should be.
Oh no, if I'm wrong, I'm so confident in it. But I think I looked it up and it is welt.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Oh no. Yeah. Vocabulary.com says a welt.
A welt.
Okay,
there we go.
Thank you, vocabulary.com.
It just sounds like when my mom says shrimp to me, welt just seems that degree of off.
Yeah, like when my Nana says, I have to change out the cartilages in my printer. And she said, look at those columns. Oh. You know, a column, like in a house.
Yeah.
A column, like this is a standing column. Yeah, beautiful columns. Oh, that reminds me, I have to change out the cartilages in my printer.
Yes, that's what welt sounds like to me. So I'll probably just still go about being wrong, but feeling better about the word I'm using.
That's fine. Use what you want.
Yeah. Actually, now I'm just going to be confused for the rest of my life. Let's see. Okay, the thing where he cranks the bike gets me every time.
I love
Whitney
that
just
bike.
held her. She held her chest. So she was like, "Oh, that's the perfect scene."
Dear to her. He like over cranks it. He like really gives it, and it's this like putt little, like kind of golf cart. Is being generous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Golf cart motor is being generous is what he's driving, But he cranks it like it's the freaking Harley Davidson.
More than that. I've never seen anyone with a Harley crank it as hard as he does that.
Yeah. Okay. If you were going to train in secret for a sport that would bring shame to you if people found out that you were doing it, what would it be?
I would for sure be a gymnast.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I'm tiny. I'm not tiny widthwise, but I am tiny in height.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would be gymnast based on my abilities.
Yeah.
I think I would be a gymnast or a jockey.
Okay.
So a horse jockey because they're small. They're smaller guys. So I think that I always have this thing in my mind where I go, you took gymnastics when you were a kid, and I bet if you had stuck it out, you would have been great. Would I have been? I wouldn't have been. But I have this, it's my toxic trait where I go, yeah, I could have been an absolute Olympian gymnast. Right. Yes. So that is mine. Okay. What is yours?
You got a solid trunk. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like you've got the,
I've got the thunder thighs. I would have been able to stick the landing. Except last year I decimated my knee playing pickleball.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe I would have needed to really engage in gymnastics in my early 20s at the latest.
Yeah.
Because 30s, it hit me hard.
No, you age out of gymnastics quickly.
Yeah. What would yours have been?
I don't know. I mean,
But it has to bring shame. It has to bring shame.
Yeah,
like that one's
shame.
like I would have had to wear a leotard, and I don't necessarily like to do that. So
Right. Okay. I was going to say, what degree of shame would that have brought to you if people were like, Zeke, he made the Olympics?
Like 4 out of 10, the most, but it's only because everyone I know would have watched me in spandex. That's all it is.
It's a different kind of shame. I understand.
It definitely is.
Personal shame. I get. Okay, I get that. I don't know what my sport that would have brought shame.
Would it have been a luchador?
I mean, I think it might have just been pro wrestling. Yeah, like, because you do. I mean, you do have to be fine making an absolute fool of yourself.
Absolutely.
Being like half naked all the time, unless you like have a cool costume that you can like hide under. So yeah, it probably would have just been pro wrestling for me.
Speaking of that, I used to look at Jack Black in this movie and go, oh, he's a bigger guy. And as I get older, I just go, Jack Black looked pretty good in this movie. And I looked at like his physique in this movie and I was like, I wouldn't hate that if I ended in that spectrum.
Yeah.
He just reminded me of every dad I've ever seen on the beach.
Yeah,
just pulled up a little too high.
So confident about that stomach. Didn't even think about it.
No.
Which is the kind of confidence I aspire to have.
Yeah.
Like I have confidence, but I go, Jack Black in tight pants and no shirt is the kind of confidence I want to aspire to within the next 10 years.
Together.
Oh, squeezing his butt cheeks together. And he's not, he doesn't have the biggest butt and he flattened that thing.
Granted, I don't think anybody looks good squeezing their butt cheeks together.
No. Yeah.
And
But he did. That's the confidence I want.
And Jack Black is the kind of guy to lean into that. Like he knows part of the joke is that he's a little out of shape. You know?
Like had he been really fit, and so when we talk about our recast, I didn't choose anyone that was fit. Like I even thought about it, and I was like, no, that doesn't fit for this.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It kills the whole thing because then you go, oh, that person's attractive, and you go, I don't want to do that. I want to look at somebody who makes me feel like I could do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's even later in the movie, we have Esqueleto saying, we always lose because you are fat. He's like, why is it? Which, by the way, so they try and, he becomes a tag team with Esqueleto, who initially is the guy who steals the Lord's chips at the beginning of the movie. He attacks him and takes his chips.
The guy who believes in science.
In town, and he only believes in science. And he's got this way of smiling where he literally shows every tooth, and it's crooked. I don't know. It's just Jared Hess has this aesthetic that he goes for where he's like, I'm going to find the weirdest looking people and put them on screen.
Yes, like you are going to remember this face.
Yeah.
And that also makes it really hard to recast when we're going through that section. I just go, I had to pick maybe not weird looking people, but people that were like, he painted the picture well when it came to this. So I had to pick people that looked like the people who already played them.
Yes.
It just made sense. He picks people that are just caricatures of themselves.
Yeah.
You can't imagine anyone else.
That's right. I had a really, really hard time doing a recast on this one. And
it was easier for me than Signs, our last episode, but this, just because Signs was like, to me, that is one of my iconic movies. And I just went, no one is Abigail Breslin. But on this one, I was like, okay, maybe I could pick a few people.
Yeah. So they do several things trying to figure out, they go from being like, okay, if we tag team and we wrestle at all, we get money. We get paid. And that lets me buy the ingredients for the orphans. Yeah. And then they figure out, then that's where the pride starts to sneak in, right? Nacho becomes not content because he's watching Ramses. Yeah. He gets his heart in the wrong place and he starts to chase the glory.
The glory.
And so then he's like, he doesn't just want to wrestle and get the money. He wants to win. He wants the winner's purse.
Yes.
Which they used to talk about that a lot in pro wrestling. But when I was a kid, they would still pretend that the winner of a match got more money than the loser, even though.
But they didn't.
No, they would just. I mean,
they get paid the same.
You have a contract. So
that changes my whole life.
So a pro wrestler, it's you get paid X amount of dollars a year, and you tell the story that we write for you. You know what I mean? Oh, man. And so it's like wins and losses don't actually mean anything. And you may lose all the time, but still be a better wrestler than the guys that you're losing to. Yeah. It just matters the story that they want to tell with your character. Okay. So it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't even be fair for them to have, the winners get paid more, Now, obviously, if you become champion, there are certain perks probably that come along with it. You know what I mean? But anyway, they used to talk a lot about the winner's purse. You want to get that, whatever. So Nacho starts to chase the winner's purse, and the one thing in this movie, maybe just one, but one thing in this movie that always feels like a weird left turn is the eagle egg bit.
Oh, I wrote down a few things about this.
Okay.
That is some of the worst CGI I've seen. Now, they do well about it. Like, he's flipped by the bull in this movie at one point, and that CGI is bad, but I'm like, that's funny. I like funny, bad CGI. I'm good with that. But they didn't let him climb the wall. It's clearly a green screen because it cuts off at like a random point of his feet. Like, it looks like he's standing on a spot that's not a cliff part. And I just went, why did they do that? And Whitney was like, what's happening? She goes, I don't understand what this imagery is. And it is a weird left turn. And nothing comes of it. Yeah. Nothing comes of the eagle egg.
It doesn't even work. They go to climb this like cliff and to get an eagle egg because Esqueleto said he knows a guy who can show
That's what science gets you. Yeah. Okay. That's what it gets. You believe in science. Right. That's what it gets you.
Yeah. That's what exactly. That seems much more of a faith element to me.
It does. It does.
And so they go up and the eagle eggs are huge, by the way. Eagle eggs in real life, I looked them up, did a little research on the eagle eggs.
Can't be that big, right?
They're not that big. They're slightly bigger than chicken eggs. They're about three inches.
That thing was
on
bigger
average.
than an ostrich egg. So what he was drinking out of.
Yeah, it's like it's almost a two-hander, Yeah. And so he gets the egg all over his face, and then he jumps off the thing.
Disgusting.
And then he tries to like summon his eagle powers later, and it doesn't work. But yeah, that's the one spot in the movie that I'm like, this doesn't really do it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I normally don't think about those things. Like when I was, I guess, younger watching this, I was like, that's funny. That's a funny part. Yeah. And that might have been the main reason of doing it. Or I can't understand why he's so, as the cook of a monastery, why he is so bad at eating. He got most of the egg just all over his face, which first off, I just can't, when food is all over the face, I get a gag. I just go, I can't do it. And then when he tries his awful, I think refried beans at the beginning of the movie, and it shoots out of his nose. Ew. I can't think.
And then he rubs it on his
gag.
cheek.
Yes.
That's a real gag. I can't. He rubs it. Okay, come on. He rubs it on his cheek. And it's, I'm trying not to gag. My eyes are watering. He rubs it on his cheek, and I'm like, do you know how to eat? And when he's serving the food, he can't do it.
No, he's flipping it all over the place.
Like, he was just chosen for this. They're like, because no one else wants to cook. And he is there. He is what I think, the salads look fantastic. He is good at plating food.
Yeah.
Okay, Nacho is successful at plating food, but he is terrible at eating it. And I don't understand. I do not understand how he got the eagle egg mostly on his face.
Yes, terrible. And maybe that's why it didn't work.
Maybe if he would actually had it.
He didn't get enough of the nucleus for the magic of the eagle egg to be able to work. Okay, did you know, this is something I learned about eagles. Did you know that the reason that bald eagles are rare now is not just that they're rare animals, but that they became endangered and nearly extinct because of pesticide. So in the early 60s, the pesticide DDT was, they were still using it much earlier in the 1900s, and it became a thing where the pesticides would reach the water supplies where the eagles were eating fish, and so they would get it would get in the fish.
So we ruined the eagles,
and so we ruined the eagles. We made the eagles endangered acutely because of the use of DDT. And so then they started the protection, and now they've I don't know if they're off the endangered list, but it's been much, you're much more likely to see an eagle now than when we were kids. But but it's taken decades of conservation efforts to try and protect the eagles.
Oh man. And I bet part of it is because people saw this in 2006 and thought, you know what? I'm going to go drink some eagle eggs.
Get me an eagle egg. Absolutely. When Nacho sings the Encarnacion song, he looks, when he hits the chorus, right? When he hits that spot, he looks directly into the camera.
I didn't know
And
this.
he's just for that part. So he's like off to the side and he's in the bathhouse type of thing, the like dressing room or whatever. And then when he hits the big emotional chorus, he turns and he looks dead into the camera.
Oh,
like
I didn't even notice.
Singing into your soul. And I just love that.
What
movie.
I used to hate was when actors went into their character outside of what they're playing.
Oh, yeah.
He full does Jack Black. He does the like,
Yes.
Encarnacion. And I'm just like, oh, that is Jack Black.
Yeah.
It became one of my favorite things because I mean they're letting him do it. They're letting him do it in this movie. It's the same as the live action Grinch. Where every once in a while, it's like, I forget it's Jim Carrey. I don't forget it's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But it's such...
But you buy that it's the Grinch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until he does a few things where I'm just like, oh, that is just Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what was his pet detective? Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura, yeah.
I was like, this is just Ace Ventura with some green makeup on. So I have started to love when actors do that. And when he did the little flute off to the side, I'm like, that's nothing's more Jack Black.
Right.
If you want to be Jack Black, just play the fake flute off to the side.
Yes. Yeah, that whole bit. Another note, there is no dialogue whatsoever in the final fight scene. Like that whole
I didn't notice that.
Climactic thing from the start of that to the end until after he's won the match and he grabs like Esqueleto and says like, we did it, right? There's no dialogue whatsoever. It's not silent, obviously. There's crowd noise and there's grunts and you know whatever. But and when Nacho wins, so here's a wrestling note for the wrestling purists out there listening, and I know you're listening. He wins by pinfall, right? 1, 2, 3 outside the ring, which is rare because typically, unless you have specified in a match that it's falls count anywhere, that wouldn't matter. You can't pin somebody outside the ring. They have to be inside the ropes for the pinfall to count. Unless in a pro wrestling setting, it's specified. Okay, in this match, falls count anywhere. So normally, strictly speaking, that wouldn't have counted. If you're going to win a match outside the ring in a regular match, it's going to be by a count of 10. Just the ref counts you out. I don't know if there are special lucha rules
there might be
that pinfalls always count anywhere. Right. But and then he goes back into the ring, and I'm going to post this on our stories on Instagram. He does a very specific jump when he wins. Arms up in the air and then falling down to the knees as he brings the arms down, and that is a tribute to Rocky 3.
No.
Rocky does that.
See, we didn't know that because we haven't seen Rocky 3.
Yeah. Rocky does that same jump when he beats Clubber Lang, Mr. T's character, in Rocky 3 at the end of Rocky 3.
I thought that was pure Jack Black because I was like, that seems Jack. Well, I'm sure he sauced it up like Jack Black, but that is hilarious.
Yes.
I remember us talking about that jump specifically.
The difference is, and you'll see it. I mean, I'm going to post it in Reels, but the difference is Rocky goes down to both knees. Nacho goes down to one knee. And then kind of does like a thing. But it's definitely a tribute. Like I didn't even bother looking it up to see. See that him say that he did that as a tribute. Nobody on earth has ever done that just on their own, except Rocky and Rocky 3. And so I love that because I love the Rocky movies. I'm definitely going to make you watch one.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what we're going to...
I might love them too. It's just the brutality of it. I always go, oh, okay.
Oh, but in the Rocky movies, here's the difference. You ready? Okay, so it's like the difference in fighting movies and the Rocky movies is the same difference between gangster movies and The Godfather. It's okay. So
it is the fighting movie.
Not only is it the fighting movie, but the fighting is secondary.
Okay.
Because it's so in the first two Rocky movies. In the second Rocky movies, the second two Rocky movies, the fighting is the main,
Okay.
But it's so soaked with story.
Okay, and the same as The Godfather. It is a drama that goes around.
Godfather is a story about family that happens to be set in a mob family.
Okay,
you know
that's
what
awesome. I can appreciate that.
Because I don't like gangster movies. I freaking love the Godfather movies. But it's that same thing. So the Rocky movies, the fighting is just so poignant. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Prescient? No, not prescient.
Look this up.
Anyway, I think it's point. Anyway, it matters. The fighting. You're into the fighting because of the story.
Right. Speaking of that, I cheered audibly while we watched this. I cheered audibly when he slow-mo jumped from the ring. Oh, I was like, those are the two things that I remember from this movie, and they did not disappoint this next time through. When I saw the tile in that room before he sang into the camera, and then when he jumped, arms behind him, stomach first into Ramses.
You know what I just connected? I mean, this isn't intentional, but that pose is the Blinding Edge Pictures logo from M. Night Shyamalan. Ah,
yes, it is. Is it not? Where he's doing that with that blue screen, and that guy's got that like arch back, and he's flying.
Yeah, it's You're like the same pose.
You're right. That might be why I love it.
Is that okay? Now here, because that's a shall we call it a supernatural leap that he makes?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
It was like 25 feet.
Is that the manifestation of the eagle powers?
That was it. It just took a few days to kick in.
Yeah, it had to get into his nucleus.
It was the manifestation. All the nutrients finally dissolved in his body, and he was able to take flight. I mean, that man soared. Yeah, and he beat Ramses.
And
Ramses.
You do. I'm
going to say it wrong. The whole time.
Ramses. We're white. We're doing the best we can.
We are.
And you do have at the end, so you've got the whole time, you've got Nacho as a man of faith and Esqueleto as a man of science, right? But before the final fight, what happens?
They connect and pray.
And he gets baptized.
And he
got baptized before he prayed.
Yeah. But Esqueleto prays to the Lord that he would give him nutrients.
Nutrients,
right?
he does.
Nutrients
That's why I said
and
that.
Strength or whatever.
Yes.
Is that what he said?
He does.
So you got
Give him nutrients. Oh my gosh.
The redemption arc. So I guess you have to attribute that to the Lord then, and not the eagle powers.
Absolutely. They prayed before that.
The Lord giving him the nutrients.
Yeah, that's like the Lord using medicine, though. Maybe he used the eagle powers. He's like, okay, they can kick in now.
Right, maybe. Yes. Okay. All right. It's time for us to switch gears here. Let's take a minute and let's do the recast.
Yes, my favorite.
Slide up to the snack bar.
Who do you want to start with? You start us out.
I mean, start with Nacho. Nacho was hard. Nacho was as hard for me as Abigail Breslin was for Signs, because how do you?
This one was easy for me.
Really?
I don't know why. You keep going though.
Interested to hear because now first of all, I felt like I had to get somebody who is actually of Hispanic heritage.
Oh man, see, I didn't take that into consideration for this one.
I just felt like if we were going to make this movie right now, that it just would not fly to have just a straight up white dude as the lead.
That's better.
No,
probably.
Unless we change the story like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. But so I agonized over this. Like I searched. I'm talking about a massive database of Hispanic actors and ended up going with the first person that I thought could do it. Even though he's a little bit old for this, he's probably, I think he's like 9 years older than Jack Black. Like now, he's 9 years older than Jack Black was in Nacho Libre. So it could still work because this guy plays young.
Jack Black was 37. Yeah. Which looking back, I was like, man, he is flexible for 37.
Yeah. Okay. And so this guy's 46 now, but he's just the best guy I could find to do it, who I thought could pull it off and genuinely do the thing. His name is Michael Pena. He's in Ant-Man. He's you know who I'm talking about?
I'm looking him up because I don't know by the name.
He's in American Hustle, and he's got the comedic chops. You know what I mean? He's not like the skinniest guy in the world.
No,
I mean, he might be, but he doesn't. You know how some people just kind of look like they're a little overweight?
Yeah.
He might not even be.
I don't think he is, but he has the overweight vibe.
He just has that vibe, which is unfair.
It is. And he has like that. You went through middle school as either ugly or fat, and now you have the personality for it.
Yeah,
he does.
That's a great way
He does. Whitney likes to say that that's what she
when
did.
you develop your personality.
Yes,
you have nothing else to fall back on.
Yeah.
He went through some character development as a chunky child, and now he come out. Now he came out being able to play these roles.
Okay, that's great. All right, who you got as Nacho?
Okay, and I think Whitney has them too. I wasn't respectful of our Hispanic movie at all.
That's fine.
I did.
Last week you made everybody Hispanic.
I did. So I guess we're backtracking. So for this one, the actor that I thought could encompass this, I did two, and I did gender bend one of them because it was too perfect. So my number one pick is John C. Reilly. Okay, because he has the same kind of vibe.
Okay.
And I think I've seen him play a role like this, and that might be why I'm doing this. I've seen him play like, not Talladega Nights. That's not really where he does this well, but I think the main character in this was the curly hair. And I was like, John C. Reilly is a little overweight. He's funny. I think he can do some comedic, body acting. What is that called?
Yeah, physical.
He can physically act in this type of way.
Okay.
And he has the kind of body for it. Now, that one's not the one I'm proud of, but this is my gender bent way, which would change the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. It would, because I didn't gender bend anything else.
I considered it.
Okay.
But
So
then it made things complicated that I didn't want to complicate.
Right. So I just went, I'm not going to think about the repercussions.
Okay.
I am just going to gender bend this. Fortune Feimster.
Okay. Oh man.
Fortune Feimster, who is a comedian. She's been on a few movies. She's been on a few movies, like movies where Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig, like she's been on like some B characters in some of those movies. Her comedy is some of my favorite. She gets real Southern every once in a while to when she impersonates her mom, and she has the hair.
Yes.
She's a bigger girl. She mocks it all the time. She jokes about it. She's confident in herself. She is a lesbian in real life, so it would make it where if she was into the nun, it would make sense in this gender bent thing. Okay. But she has the hair. Yeah. And I just know that she would wear a leotard proudly, and she would be a great luchador.
Oh, you're right.
So I think Fortune Feimster was my best pick.
Yeah.
And I had to gender bend for that.
Okay. Fair
what
enough.
do you got, Producer
You
Whitney?
have some, Producer Whitney? Did you do this?
I thought he just said them, but Melissa McCarthy as Ignacio and Kristen Wiig as Esqueleto.
Oh,
what was it?
Esqueleto.
But then the nun would have to be someone, and I was like,
are you going to gender? Did you gender bend
everything.
like a male?
I put Andy Samberg because I thought he'd be funny. But Zeke was like, he has to be attractive. I was like, I think Andy Samberg is attractive, but he's funny.
Yeah.
I was just going full comedy.
Oh, full comedy. Yeah, like that changes the vibe of it. Actually, I don't think it changes the vibe too much.
But I'm just imagining Melissa McCarthy doing the things that he was doing, and it would just be
Melissa
hilarious.
McCarthy would be Nacho. Esqueleto is Kristen Wiig.
Hilarious. And you just get Paul Feig to direct the whole thing, and it just becomes one of those movies.
Exactly.
It becomes one of those movies.
100%.
I think if they redid, is it Nacho Libre?
Yeah,
I don't know. Then they can switch it up, and it can be the nuns trying to catch the eye of the friar. I keep forgetting.
Let me just say this: now I'm jumping into your gender bent version, and let me just say submit for Encarnacion, who would, I don't know if he would have the same name or not, but I would submit John Hamm for that.
Oh my gosh!
Right, for somebody who's just
so it's Bridesmaids.
devastatingly handsome.
It's Bridesmaids, devastatingly handsome, and he comes in and he has like he could be full priest, and he comes in and everyone is like, the angels singing behind him. There's a glow around his head. Yeah. It would make sense. Yeah,
so my original idea. I thought about gender bending this because I thought I can't think of any man who could do who could be Jack Black enough to make this work.
But there were a few women where I was like, they could. Yeah,
and my thought was Melissa McCarthy. Like I had the same wonder. Now she might be a little too old, but Melissa McCarthy.
You're not old, Melissa McCarthy. We know you're listening. Just for this role,
and she may not be, but like maybe 8 to 10 years ago would have been perfect.
Yes,
like perfect. But anyway, that's great. I love that. Thank you, Producer Whitney.
So Esqueleto then. Who did you check for that?
Okay, so I went into the actual field of pro wrestling for Esqueleto.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And because I couldn't think of an actor who like had that frame.
Mm-hmm.
And,
that was the hardest part.
And it's important. His name is Skeleton. So I went to an actual pro wrestler. His name is Dominic Mysterio. Okay. And he's, I'm gonna look at what he looks like. He's tall and he's thin. You're right. They would have to do the same thing with him. They would have to even skinny him up a little further.
Oh yeah, he's not skinny enough, but he is skinny.
When he first broke in a few years ago, so he's the son of a legendary luchador named Rey Mysterio Jr. And now he just goes by Rey Mysterio. But his dad is one of the absolute greatest pro wrestling luchadors of all time. Okay. And he does the whole thing with the mask. We haven't even talked about the mask being so important in luchador wrestling, but it's an insult to have your mask removed.
Oh, so that's why they kept doing it.
And that's why
that makes sense.
And even in, like in Ramsey's case, he's wearing it at all times. Your identity in especially in old school luchador style, your identity is to be protected by the mask. You're essentially Superman and nobody knows who your Clark Kent is.
Yeah.
Now, Rey Mysterio went through a period in the late 90s where he was wrestling without his mask. But since his return to WWE in the early 2000s, he doesn't take his mask off at all.
Oh, that's nice. It's like Mandalore.
Yes, it's like, exactly. Yes, Mandalorian. And so his son is Dominic Mysterio, and he has just started wrestling in the last like 2 to 3 years. And when he first broke in, he was skinny as a rail. He's put on some muscle now, but he was just like all
still lanky.
He looked like Jack Skellington, essentially, which is, about as close as I could get. So I went Dominic Mysterio for Esqueleto.
So I lied. I chose some people of Hispanic heritage for this, and I forgot. My first choice is Moises Arias. Okay. He is why can't we just have like a salad? Oh, because when he grew up, he got lanky, and he's not as tall, but he played on Disney. He played on a bunch of Disney shows. Really? And he got a little grungier when he was older. He had a bunch of dreads, and he like grungy dreads, not really, not locks. He had like some grungy dreads, and I think he could play this successfully. So he's my first one. And the whatever you call that, like going back, picking someone from the original, recasting it to the
that. That's brilliant.
So he worked. He went from a child actor. I think he's like middle-aged actor.
If we
now.
do that, then Chancho could have been.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Good job. Yes. Chancho could have played Jack Black. And then my other one, just because I chose 2 for each of these. Not my goal. I just could not choose. My other one for this was a blockbuster person right now. Lanky, funny, couldn't look like an idiot. Pete Davidson.
Oh, dude.
So Pete Davidson was my blockbuster pick for this. I was like, I wouldn't choose him normally, but I just went, he could do this. He's lanky enough. Yeah. He could be funny in this role.
He's weird looking.
Yes, exactly. He could do the weird smile. Yeah. Racially ambiguous. He could do all of that. So Pete Davidson is my pick for that.
That's a great choice.
And you said yours is Kristen Wiig, right,
well
producer?
Done. Yeah, both of you. Well done. So then finally for Encarnacion.
This is what I was waiting on.
I immediately knew who I wanted for this. I searched to see if there was somebody better, but my choice for this is Ana de Armas. She's Knives Out.
Off of Knives Out. Oh my gosh.
No Time to Die.
That's perfect.
I just thought she has that beautiful, innocent look.
Like she's going to work for the Lord. And you're just going to be like, it's going to be like
she's going to work for the Lord. Like
WERK. She is the girl that is reading her Bible at youth camp, and all the boys are like, oh gosh, what do we do? What are these emotions? That's what that feels like to me. I chose someone, it would be a slightly different movie. Okay. Just a little bit different. It would be a little more like, and I don't like this type of movie, but it would be a little more like American Pie. Okay. I know. I don't love it. Okay. But it is the first thing that came to my mind is Selma Hayek.
Okay.
It would be Selma Hayek. Okay. So she's my Hispanic heritage. Like I just go, she's pretty. Selma Hayek is a pretty lady. She would make a terrible nun.
I need to say something here. Selma Hayek is so much more than pretty.
She is. I agree. I was trying to be very respectful.
No, Selma Hayek, and I usually don't like, I just don't say a lot about my feelings about how women look, but Selma Hayek is on a very rarefied level of beauty.
It is Whitney's. It is my father-in-law's favorite, right?
He loves her, and he never remembers her name, but he knows who she is when she gets on the screen.
He goes, "Oh, I love Selma Hayek. She is one of those. Yeah. She is one of those." And I just went, it would be a different movie. The body type is a little bit different. It'd be a different movie, but
she's a little shapelier.
She would have her nun outfit
would be filled out.
It would be tighter. It would not be. It would be a totally different movie if she was the
person. It would introduce a different level of tension.
Yes. Okay, so yours is John Hamm, right? No.
I like that. I like John Hamm better, but then it turns into Bridesmaids, so it's like
Andy Samberg works because Andy Samberg, even if you don't originally look at him and go, he's a good looking guy, he's famous enough now that you forget that you didn't think he was handsome.
Right.
Yes. Precisely.
Comedically, he could do really well, even though she didn't really do a lot of the comedy.
Yeah, she pretty much plays it straight.
Yeah.
My second one. Okay. my second one is not necessarily mine, but my crowning glory. Okay. Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoa!
I'm going to tell you.
Wow.
I would pay so much money for that to be done. That is not my original joke.
Okay.
I was talking to someone else about it. I was talking to Chris Carneal about that, one of our friends this week. And he goes, oh, that'd be funny. You could do Whoopi Goldberg. And I wheezed for 3 to 4 minutes. And I was like, I might not have, but I wheezed very hard. I was like, oh my gosh. And then it hit me again like 10 minutes later. And I was like, I'm going to have to use that. And he's like, please do. He's like, don't even quote me. And I was like, I'm going to have to. And that is just Whoopi Goldberg showing up as the nun.
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's like we talked about.
I don't care if it could be present day Whoopi Goldberg. I'm still good with it.
It's like we talked about last week at the end of Split when Bruce Willis shows up and you realize you're now in the Unbreakable cinematic universe.
This is the Sister Act 2, Sister Act 1
the Sister Act cinematic universe that just becomes connected. Did you hit your tooth on the mic?
I hit my tooth very hard if you heard that sound.
It happens to all of us at some point.
Oh man, it's the multiverse of Sister Act and Nacho Libre if that would ever happen.
Yeah. That's really funny. Like on a strict level, I go, okay, she's too old. It wouldn't make sense for him to fall in love with Whitney. But you can fall in love with who? I mean, stuff happens, right. You know? Stuff happens.
Absolutely.
Okay, so unless you have anything else on Nacho Libre that you need to say, I think we're going to move on to the next part of our show. We're going to take a break here. We're going to cook some homemade tortilla chips, and then we'll come back and tell you how we did it. We're going to try them for you, and we're going to rate, our work together. So we'll see how we did.
Absolutely.
Well, all right, we'll see you guys on the other side.
All right, guys, we're getting ready to make our homemade tortilla chips.
You can just take the ridiculous thing off while you're talking to people,
Okay.
There. Okay.
All right, guys, we're about to make our homemade tortilla chips, and we're going to start with baked ones, and while they're baking, then we're going to make the fried versions. Let's go.
Slide up to the snack bar.
All right, we're back with part B of our Nacho Libre episode in which we have made
the Lord's Cheeps.
The Lord's Cheeps. And man, I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah.
I predicted earlier my own disappointment. And maybe that's just a personal thing that I need to work on. But I got to say, what we've accomplished here is looking pretty good to me. So we've got deep fried chips here to my right. And
it's the sound of the deep fried chips.
Some of y'all just loved that, and some of y'all just hated that. And then we've got a plate of baked chips that we did in the oven.
Oh, different texture.
A little bit cleaner scratch, I feel like. Maybe the oil does something to the fried chips.
I don't remember which ones you just scratched.
I did. I placed them off to the side so my nail scratchings would be with me when we taste them.
All right. So here's kind of walk you through the recipe. We're going to put this on Reels too on Instagram. Follow us at Cinema Snack Bar. And hey, go to patreon.com/Cinema Snack Bar if you want to support the show, and we can kind of try and give you some bonus goodies and ways that we have to say thank you. However, for now, we're going to talk about the recipe a little bit. So we did deep fry. I don't have a deep fryer, so it's deep fried them in a pot.
Which was a lot easier than I anticipated it would be.
Yeah, it wasn't messy. It didn't get grease everywhere. No. You got to use a high temperature oil. We used canola. You can use peanuts, sunflower, and some just straight up vegetable oil, but you got to make sure it has a high smoke temperature so that you don't end up with a grease fire problem. Right. And a grease fire is a big problem.
Yeah.
And then you drop you cut your chips from the full-size corn tortillas, drop them into the oil gently so that they don't splatter. Right. You got to make sure that they're totally dry. You don't want anything on them that could make, moisture because it's going to react with the grease, and then you have problems. So then we drop them in, and it was it was fast.
It was.
Honestly,
three-ish minutes.
Yeah, these could have come out sooner. These were in.
We have some brown ones. That's nice.
Yeah, these were in 2.5, 3 minutes. Try to, swirl them around and separate them, but I'm really impressed with the way they look.
Yeah, they look great.
We salted them while they were hot. So basically, as soon as they came out, you salt them so that the salt kind of has time to not just sit on the chips, but become one with the chips.
That's what the Lord wants.
Yeah, that's the Lord definitely salts his chips. As for the baked chips, they took about 20 minutes. They look a little wimpier.
Yeah, a little more shriveled.
They are the nacho to the Ramses of
Yeah. The boiled. The boiled chips
No, deep fried.
No, I was like boiled. I was like, that's terrible.
Boiled would be if we just took corn tortillas and put them in water and called them chips.
Holy water.
No, is that just cornmeal? Does it turn back into cornmeal if it's boiled? That's disgusting. Okay, the deep fried chips are definitely the Ramses. Like they're stately.
You can tell looking at them, they're the kings.
Yes, if that was served to me, most of these, if they're served to me at a Mexican restaurant, I'd be like, hey, I'm good to go.
Similar to Ramses, they were covered in oil.
They were.
Yes.
That was a very awkward scene too.
Yeah,
those men were just rubbing his chest,
getting greased up, man.
Yeah.
So all right, we're gonna try these. You got anything else you want to say before we try these?
No, I'm just really excited. My mouth is watering.
Okay,
I'm ready.
Right. Let's taste test. We're gonna taste test the fried first, and
Okay.
I'm gonna chew this into the microphone.
Oh no, this could be terrible for some viewership.
So I'm just saying, trigger warning if you're sensitive. I'm gonna go sans salsa first, but we do have some
correct. We gotta
delicious
have
medium chi-chi salsa. But all right,
You gotta have it without the salsa
let's
first.
crunch it and see what happens.
Okay. Man.
I'm happy.
Man, that is really good. I got one of the lighter ones, and it's still like got the little bit of chewy.
Man,
that is nice. I'm sorry you're missing out. If you are just so hungry right now, this is the type of podcast you need to be listening to.
This was so perfect. I cannot
crunch
imagine
was
myself not doing this more in the future.
Yeah, like I don't want to buy many chips anymore. Like this is the kind of chips I just want to make them.
But the thing is, I think to make the amount you would like, if you were to just, if I start eating chips,
We
I'm gonna eat quite a few.
eat.
So I'm trying to think cost wise, but the oil is the expensive part, really.
Okay.
It's not so much the corn tortillas, but a thing of oil is like maybe $8 to $10 for a thing, and you might get 2 uses out of it.
That is the thing.
Now, unless you're in a restaurant where they're in the back and they're just reusing the oil, making so many things of.
If we have a night of chip making, then I think that could work.
A night of chip making sounds weirdly marital. I don't know why.
Whitney and I will have a night of chip making, but it will be literal. We'll just be making chips.
That's odd. Okay. I'm super excited. I'm going to try this actually in some salsa and see what the combination is. But best believe when this pod goes off the air, I'm finishing these chips. Wow.
I am so pleased.
Dang it.
I'm going back in for seconds.
Try not to talk while I chew, because that would be disgusting for sure. This just changed my life. Like,
listen to that. Wow.
It took 2 episodes of this show for me to have my life changed for the better.
I want one more of the.
And I hope that's the same for you guys listening.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I hope it is.
Let me just encourage you guys with this recipe. This was so easy.
Sorry. I'll just take another bite.
There is nothing to this but a little caution, right? I mean, that's all. Just don't start a grease fire is 70% of this recipe for these.
We're not really cooks that started liking movies. We are movie lovers that were like, we clearly like to eat. So so this doesn't take much.
No, yeah. And I love to cook. I'm all for a good recipe, and I'm up for a challenge. I'll smoke a turkey for Thanksgiving and that kind of stuff. I'm up for a little bit of complication.
Right.
This was not complicated at all. There was nothing to this. Just drop the chips in the oil, wait for a minute, and take them back out.
Yeah, this is level like 2 out of 10, I would say, because you have to have the oil. You have to be able to not start a fire. But 2 out of 10 on difficulty.
I would just like to suggest, Rob is known for his nachos.
Yeah.
Those as nachos.
Rob makes fantastic nachos. We layer the whole pan, put all of you break it up into quadrants.
Yeah.
And then you put you start out with a big pile of all of the condiments, all of the ingredients, and you get to build out your nachos. And these,
but with those chips,
these would be great.
It's totally fresh out that would be so good.
We could create just like a single layer of the chips, like nothing stacked on each other, and we get the full flavor of the chip. That's what we need.
I'd need just $40 just of oil.
And that's okay. Well, we could reuse okay, but that's the thing. We could reuse the oil that night.
Yeah,
just keep it going. Keep that oil at the boiling point, and we'll just keep plopping in chips.
Not like one of those restaurants that's been open for 80 years and they've never changed out the oil. They've just added more. They've never like.
Yeah, so this is good. This is good. We'll have our I have to take another bite.
If we're talking about a ratio of recipe to reward, off the charts. Like
absolutely,
the benefits. Far and away, galaxies outweigh the challenge of the recipe. So as long as you're careful with the oil, I see no reason why a 10-year-old shouldn't try this.
I was right at the beginning.
Listen, kids. Make your mommy some nachos tonight. She's been busy. Get out the oil.
has.
You know what? Don't even bother with the pan. Just pour it straight on the stove eye. And that way you don't have to wash any dishes later.
Oh man, that's perfect. That's perfect. And it greases up the eye. It looks like it's going to be successful when you do that.
Now we're okay. Now let's try the baked chips. All
Okay,
right.
so far I think that my prediction at the very beginning was right. I'm very happy about the outcome. I keep saying boiled of the boiled chips, of the deep fried chips. Okay, I mean it boiled, but it boiled in oil. Of the deep fried chips, I am so happy with the outcome
I'm
of that.
thrilled.
Okay, here's my scratch chip. I got the chip that I scratched. Sorry, I should have helped you with that.
So these are definitely darker in color. I'm not sure looking at them that you would know that it was a corn tortilla to start with.
I feel like this is going to give me the same reaction as, baked Lays.
Baked Lays.
Like my mom was about them.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Okay, so I'm a fan, but it's not my go-to.
Yeah.
If I had those or baked Lays, I'm picking the deep fried.
Yeah, of course. All right.
So I feel like that will be without salsa first.
All right, let's see how the crunch is. Here we go.
Oh, hey, that's not a letdown.
Yeah, that's all right.
It is a different vibe.
Oh.
You do this. See, that's nice.
It had a second punch.
Yeah, I definitely think these should be in there like a little less than what we put them in there for.
Yeah,
Full crunch.
We did 375 degrees in the oven. You before you cut the tortillas, you lightly coat them with oil. Then you put them in the oven. We baked them for 18 minutes. I'd probably go 15 if we did it again.
Yeah.
They're maybe a little bit.
These do have a healthier taste. You go, I don't feel as bad for eating this. I don't feel like my face is going to break out. This is one of those that I go, okay, you know what I mean? Like if you drink enough Coke, you go, Mom, gonna have a zit tomorrow. That's what the other ones feel like. That's what the other ones feel like. This feels like, hey, we're making some, it's early in the year. We're making some changes.
Yeah.
This is the chips you're going to make.
Yes, these definitely taste like an alternative.
It is. It's like, oh man, I'm trying to think of like a CCM version of a band. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it's like if you love chips, if you like chips, you should try baked chips.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, I'm trying to think, it's like, if you like Adele, you're going to love Lauren Daigle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when they tried to give me, like when I was in middle school and they're like, be a better person. Here's what you can listen to.
Yes.
That's what these chips are.
And that being said, like if you had never heard Adele,
Yeah.
you'd be all good with the Lauren Daigle.
Absolutely. These are the only chips I had tasted. I'd be fine.
And even if so it's fine. Just fine. They're by themselves. But given the two in front of you, obviously you're going to take the boiled chips.
it's
You're going to
fantastic.
take the deep fried chips.
Yeah.
Unless you're just keeping the metaphor alive, unless you're just very adamant about trying to like see yourself through some life change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to go with the fried ones. All right, let me hit one with salsa and see how that goes.
Yeah. Here we go. Sorry. I'm not helping him reach that at all.
I'm going to get one of the darker ones. This one's actually this is borderline burned right here, but I'm going to taste it and see.
Okay, here we go.
I'm kind of about that.
I mean, that's got superior crunch to a store-bought chip.
Definitely.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Neither one of these are chips that are going to break in the dip.
No, they are sturdy.
Guacamole, no problem. Sour cream, no problem. You could probably just slice this into an avocado heart and be fine.
Yes, absolutely.
This is not breaking for any reason.
I've got to pause. I was about to go back to the deep fried. I literally have it in my salsa, and I'm like, just go with what you're going with now.
And if you are offended by the bakedness of the baked ones, you can mask it with the salsa pretty well and not really care about the difference.
Yeah, the strong taste of the salsa, you're doing fine either way. So if you need to make a change, it's the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
If you need to make a change, go ahead and go for those baked chips. But if you want that flavor, y'all.
You want yes. Where are the spices? A little salt, by the way. I don't know if we said, but salt them while they're hot when they first come out, so that the salt can. We talked about it, so that the salt can like reside in the DNA of the chips.
Oh my gosh, it's so much better. I went back to the deep fried. Man, that is exceptional.
That boiled hits different.
That boiled hits different. That is That's exceptional.
Yeah.
Now the baked is fine. Okay. If you're a baked person, it's fine.
Right.
But that deep fried.
I'm going to eat all of these. Just know, but the fried ones, yeah, they're definitely king still. Ramsey's is still on top as far as
He is, but depending on the moment, Nacho can do that leap off of the mat and win it for the orphans.
That's it. All right, that's going to wrap it up for season 1, episode 2 of Cinema Snack Bar. We're so grateful that you guys have joined us. We hope you enjoyed our chips talk. We hope you enjoyed the Nacho Libre talk, and we hope we've done something to brighten your day today. I don't know, maybe giving you a new recipe to try at home. Maybe burn your house down. Not our
Please
fault
don't do that.
if that happens. Children, I was kidding before. You probably turned it off already, but don't burn grease on your stove. Okay, Zeke, you got anything else you need to add before we go away?
I do not. I'm just happy to be here and I'm happy to be eating.
All right. Thank you, man. If that ain't it, right? Like that's life right there. Thank you guys so much for listening to Cinema Snack Bar. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Cinema Snack Bar. And if you want to support the show and help us to cover our costs and be able to do more, you can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Cinema Snack Bar. And you can support us there. And we will do everything within our power to give you our many and most thanks and additional access and bonus goodies and all the blah, blah, blah. We don't have it all figured out yet. We're working, but we're
getting there.
We're going to get there soon. We're going to get there quickly. So thank you guys for your support. And those of you who are already listening, who have already shared the show and have already had such kind things to say about it, thank you so much. We hope to continue to make you proud. We will work our hardest, and we will bring you the best recipes and the best films that we can possibly put together. We'll see you next week for our first ever AFI Top 100 edition of Cinema Snack Bar. Until then, I'm Rob.
And I'm Zeke. It's the best. The end.